What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So Nick, Suga Sean O'Malley is going to be back in action. He's taking on Raulian Paiva, the flyweight who has moved up, had a fight of the night performance against Kyler Phillips. That was an excellent fight a few months ago, and he's going to be taking on his toughest test to date at 135 in O'Malley. O'Malley's the big favorite here, minus 300 to plus 250 for Paiva. What do you think of the smaller guy moving up to bantamweight and taking on O'Malley?
I like it, and I think it's a good match for O'Malley, but it is going to be interesting to see because even though he is a big flyweight that's now moved into bantamweight, O'Malley is a big bantamweight that will likely eventually move to featherweight. So I'm excited to see the size difference and see how the game plans are going to work. You know, Sean O'Malley's one of the guys that is able to use his range pretty well, keep his distance with kicks, and his straight punches are really crisp. So I feel like he's going to try to do that because it seems like Paiva is a bit of a pressure guy and he wants to try to get inside. I know he's going to, struggle with a little bit of the range and stuff like that. So I'm interested in seeing how well O'Malley does at keeping him at bay. And obviously when O'Malley can keep you at that range, that long range and the kicking range, he can score all night on you and make it look really impressive doing it. And those are when he usually gets his best shots off. And a lot of times his best shots turn into KOs.
Yeah, they certainly do. And he's become a fan favorite because of some of his amazing walk-off KOs. Hasn't really gotten one of those walk-off KOs recently. He had his hands full with Chris Moutinho, who actually coincidentally also was a 125er who moved up short notice to fight O'Malley in his last outing. And Moutinho did very good in that fight. It was very clear from the beginning that there was a huge skill disparity. But Moutinho had a really good gas tank, which Paiva also had, and his skills weren't nearly to the level of Paiva's. You know, he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. There was some incredible ground exchanges in that fight against Kyler Phillips. He's got a great gas tank, and what we know with O'Malley is sometimes if he's fighting a fighter who's difficult to finish, which Paiva certainly is, and even more so now that he's not doing extreme weight cutting to make 125 anymore, I think O'Malley's really going to have to dig deep for this one. I think he's going to win. I think his striking and his range is going to keep him safe, and he's going to be able to land some big shots and win some rounds. But I see it being difficult for him to put Raulian away just because of how tough and tenacious he is and how good his gas tank is.
Yeah, for some reason I'm feeling a Sugar Show, spectacular knockout. That's just kind of what I'm feeling. It probably is because we haven't seen one in quite some time. So it's like we're primed and ready for one. We're due for a Sugar Sean spectacular KO. So I'm going to go with him likely getting a finish and looking really good doing it, doing something cool on the microphone. Every time he gets a post-fight speech, it's usually pretty cool. Everything he does. The lights are going to be bright. This kid is an unranked fighter. He's kind of made a name. He's made a merch line and everything about being unranked, and people kind of love that. It's complete opposite of what most fighters like to do. He's broadcasting the fact that he's an unranked fighter, and it's working for him. He's saying, I only want to fight unranked fighters too. That'll only last for so long, but right now we've got two guys that currently don't hold a ranking that are starting the main card of a huge pay-per-view card for the UFC, and one of the biggest of the year. When you got Poirier and Oliveira up there, you got the Lioness fighting Juliana Pena. This is a big fight night, and you can tell just how important that opening slot on the main card is by how deep the prelims are. The prelims are stacked. You don't want to miss them if you like any sort of fighting. And Sean O'Malley getting that spot, he's kind of embedded himself into whenever he fights, it's going to be the first fight of a pay-per-view card. And I think that's a really good thing. It's signs that the UFC still believes in his future, and they want to see him do some spectacular things.
And I think that's why they gave him this tough opponent, because Raulian Paiva certainly brings it out of his opponents, because he comes to fight, and he comes to fight from bell to bell. As I said, has a great gas tank and has some really slick jiu-jitsu skills. So Sean will have to be careful of that. Raulian Paiva's only got 14 of his wins have come by decision, and I think 3 came by knockout, 4 came by submission. So most of his wins are extremely heavily skewed in the decision baskets, if you will. So he's not a guy that has tremendous power in his hands that's knocking people out or anything like that. He's a very tenacious fighter, but I don't think Sean's in jeopardy of being KO'd here. I don't think Sean's really in jeopardy of being submitted, even though I would give a slight ground edge to Raulian just because he's a higher ranked Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter and he's from the source. And some of the skills I saw against Kyler Phillips were very good. I don't think the disparity is enough there to where I think he might submit O'Malley. It could make some interesting ground exchanges and maybe he wins a round on the ground if it goes there. But all in all, I see more clear paths to victory for O'Malley. I could see, as you say, a finish just by straight KO. I could see a 3-round technical beatdown where he just pieces him up throughout the 3 rounds and wins a decision. And in fact, that's actually what I'm going to predict. Yeah. I think this is going to be 30-27 in favor of O'Malley. I think Paiva is going to come forward, give him what he needs. You know, a great striker and a great counterpuncher like O'Malley loves a fighter who comes forward because they're basically giving them what they need in order to get their shots off. I don't think it's going to be enough to finish the tough Brazilian, but I think it's going to be enough to win a clear, unanimous decision, 3-0 victory.
Yeah, and I think O'Malley's only risk of going to the ground is if one of his kicks gets caught. Yeah. He's very fast at getting him back and recoiling and getting back to his original stance. So Paiva is going to have to look for those as his opportunity to get the fight to the ground if that's what he wants to do. I don't see that being successful for him, and I see this fight being about 10 minutes worth of striking, and the longer, more experienced, high-level striker in Sean O'Malley is going to get the job done. I think he's going to need less than 10 minutes. It's going to happen sometime in the second round, but I'm going to see him likely getting a finish, and maybe with his hands. He's really good with his hands, but those kicks set up everything so well. So look for a great mix of martial arts striking to finish the night early, and then a cool post-fight interview from Suga Sean.
And Dominic Cruz is on the card, so who knows? Maybe if Dom gets a win, a beautiful fight will be made on the spot.
I'd love to see it.
Well, guys, Nick and I both think Suga Sean is going to get the job done. We differ in how it's going to happen. I think Paiva's going all 3. Nick thinks he's not going more than 10. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, we appreciate you watching our videos, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.